Most of us have spent countless hours imagining the lives of the wealthy, dreaming of a day when we could walk in their shoes. But there is a massive difference between having money and feeling rich. Today, we're going behind the curtain to examine the inner world of the people we see at the top, to understand what wealth actually does to the human psyche. Imagine you finally have it. The number in your bank account has enough zeros that you don't even bother checking the price tag on your groceries anymore. You've moved into the house with the floor-to-ceiling windows, the car in the driveway smells like brand new leather, and for the first time in your life, the insufficient funds ghost has been exorcised from your ATM visits. You expect to feel like a superhero. You expect the world to suddenly turn from grayscale to technicolor. But then, a week passes, a month passes, and you realize something terrifying. You're still you. You still get annoyed when the Wi-Fi is slow. You still feel a pang of insecurity when someone doesn't laugh at your joke. You still wake up with that same vague sense of, is this it? There is a massive psychological gap between what we think being rich feels like and what the human brain actually does once it gets there. We spend our lives chasing a financial finish line, convinced that wealth is the cure for our internal restlessness. But the truth about what the rich actually think and the psychological shifts that happen once you cross that line is often the exact opposite of what the world tells you. Most of us live in a state of when-then psychology. When I get that promotion, then I'll be happy. When I save $100,000, then I'll feel secure. We view wealth as a destination, a physical place we can arrive at where all our problems evaporate. But the human brain is not designed for arrival. It is designed for adaptation. There's a psychological phenomenon called hedonic adaptation. Think of it like a treadmill. You walk faster, but the belt moves with you, and you stay in the same place. When you're earning $30,000 a year, $100,000 feels like rich. But once you earn $100,000, your baseline shifts. You start hanging out with people earning $500,000. Suddenly, your nice car looks like a bucket of bolts compared to their Italian imports. The rich don't feel rich because their yardstick keeps growing. When you're struggling, money is a ceiling. It limits what you can do. When you're wealthy, money becomes the floor. It's just the base level of your existence. The problem is, once the ceiling is gone, you realize that the ceiling wasn't what was making you feel cramped. It was your own internal architecture. People who become wealthy often describe a sense of identity crisis. If your entire personality for 10 years was the person who is grinding to make it, who are you once you've already made it? If the struggle is gone, what defines you? This is why you see billionaires starting space companies or obsessing over longevity. They are desperately trying to find a new struggle, because the human mind cannot function without a mountain to climb. When you aren't rich, you have a very convenient scapegoat for all your unhappiness. If only I had more money, I'd be better. You're stressed? It's because of the bills. Your relationship is rocky? It's because we can't afford a vacation. You're out of shape? It's because I can't afford a personal trainer or organic food. Money is the ultimate excuse. It's the get-out-of-jail-free card for your personal shortcomings. But something happens when you get rich. That excuse dies. Suddenly, you have the money for the trainer, the therapist, the vacation, and the debt-free life. If you are still stressed, still lonely, or still unfulfilled, you have to face a devastating reality. The problem wasn't your bank account. The problem was you. Rich people often think about this more than they'd like to admit. Wealth strips away the noise. It's like turning off a loud vacuum cleaner in a room. Suddenly, you can hear every little creak in the floorboards that the noise was covering up. This is why wealth can actually lead to depression for some. It forces a level of radical self-honesty that most people aren't prepared for. When you can buy anything, you realize that the things that actually matter, respect, genuine love, inner peace, are the only things that aren't for sale. Think about how you view a $20 bill right now. For many, that's a meal, a few gallons of gas, or an hour of labor. You trade your time for that money. The biggest shift in the mind of someone who has built wealth is the transition from time for money to money for time. When you're starting out, you'll drive 20 minutes out of your way to save 5 cents a gallon on gas. You'll spend 3 hours assembling a piece of furniture to save $50 on delivery. Your time is cheap and your money is expensive. But once someone becomes wealthy, that equation flips. Money becomes cheap and time becomes the most expensive commodity in the universe. They realize that they can always earn another $1 million, but they can never earn back the Tuesday afternoon they spent arguing with a customer service representative. The rich think in terms of leverage. They don't ask, how can I do this? They ask, who can I pay to do this for me so I can focus on what actually matters? This sounds like laziness to some, but it's actually a deep philosophical reflection on the finitude of life. They stop viewing money as a trophy to be collected and start viewing it as a fuel to buy back their freedom. You'd think that the more money you have, the more secure you'd feel. Surprisingly for many, the opposite is true. When you have nothing to lose. You are scrappy, you are used to the bottom. But when you build a big life, the staff, the properties, the investments, you create a giant target. Wealthy people often suffer from a specific type of anxiety, the fear of the fall. They worry about market crashes, lawsuits, or being found out as a fraud. There is a psychological pressure to maintain the lifestyle. If you are happy in a studio apartment, you could always go back. But if your kids are in private school and your social circle is elite, the social death of losing that wealth feels more terrifying than the actual poverty itself. The rich often think about the fragility of their status. They realize that money is a social construct. It's a series of entries in a digital ledger. This leads to 2 types of wealthy thinkers, the hoarder and the investor. The hoarder is driven by the fear that it will all disappear, so they can never actually enjoy their wealth. The investor understands that wealth is a flow, not a tank, and they focus on building systems that provide value regardless of the economic weather. Let's talk about the basic inner feeling of being human, the need to belong. Money changes your social DNA. When you become significantly wealthier than your peers, the relatability gap opens up. You want to talk about your new business venture or a struggle with an investment. They want to talk about how they can't afford their rent. If you complain about your problems, you look like an ungrateful jerk. If you stay silent, you feel isolated. Rich people often think about who they can actually trust. They start to wonder, does this person like me? Or do they like the me that can get them a job, buy them dinner, or give them status? This is why wealthy people tend to cluster together. It's not necessarily because they're snobs, it's because it's the only place they feel safe from the transaxle material relationships. It is a lonely feeling to realize that your value in the eyes of the world has shifted from your character to your capital. They crave the basic inner feeling of being seen for who they are, not what they own. There is a law of diminishing returns in wealth that no one tells you about. The jump from a $500 car that breaks down every week to a $30,000 car that is reliable is a massive, life-changing improvement in your happiness. Your stress levels drop, your safety increases. However, the jump from a $30,000 car to a $300,000 supercar is almost negligible in terms of actual happiness. Sure, the leather is softer and the engine is louder, but you're still sitting in the same traffic. You're still worried about someone scratching the door in the parking lot. The rich eventually realize that luxury is just a trap for the ego. Once you can afford the best of everything, you realize that the best isn't actually that much better than the good. A 5-star meal might taste better than a home-cooked one, but the joy of eating it is more about the company you're with than the truffle shavings on the plate. When people become rich, they often start simplifying. They go through a minimalist phase because they realize that managing stuff is a burden. They think about how to declutter their lives because they've learned the hard way that more possessions just mean more things that can break, be stolen, or require maintenance. The most profound thing rich people think about, the ones who have truly made it mentally and not just financially, is the shift from success to significance. In the beginning, money is about I. I want a house. I want to travel. I want to show everyone I'm successful. It's an ego-driven pursuit. But after the ego is fed, it gets full. It gets bored. This is when the philosophical reflection kicks in. They start to ask, what will remain when I'm gone? They realize that their bank balance will be reset to zero the moment they take their last breath. You can't take it with you. This is why true wealth often leads to a deep desire for philanthropy or mentorship. They realize that the only way to make money real is to turn it into an impact on someone else's life. They start thinking about how to solve problems that are bigger than themselves. Money doesn't change what you do as much as it changes why you do it. When you are poor, you work for survival. When you are middle class, you work for comfort. When you are truly wealthy, you work for purpose. If you don't have a purpose before you get the money, you'll find yourself in a very expensive house with a very empty heart. So, if this is how the rich think, how can you apply this to your life right now, regardless of your current net worth? First, stop waiting for the arrival. If you aren't practicing gratitude and finding peace in a $1,500 apartment, you won't find it in a $15 million mansion. The mansion will just have more rooms for you to be unhappy in. Build your internal foundation now. Second, start valuing your time like a wealthy person. You don't need $1 million to stop wasting hours on things that don't move the needle for your life or your happiness. Ask yourself, is this task worth my hourly rate? If not, find a way to automate it, delegate it, or eliminate it. Third, focus on anti-fragility. Don't just chase a high income, chase a life that doesn't collapse if the income dips. Security comes from your skills, your relationships, and your ability to live below your means, not from the size of your paycheck. Finally, understand the mirror effect. Money is an amplifier. If you are a generous, kind person, money will make you a great philanthropist. If you are an insecure, greedy person, money will make you a monster. Don't wait until you're rich to become the person you want to be. The money will only show the world who you already were. The secret that people who become rich eventually learn is that money is not the goal. It is the lubricant for a life well lived. It makes things move smoother, it reduces friction, and it opens doors. But it isn't the engine. It isn't the destination. True wealth is the ability to wake up in the morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. It's the absence of fear, not the presence of luxury. It's the deep psychological realization that you are enough, even without the zeros in the account. When we look at the rich, we shouldn't envy their things. We should study their perspective on time, their focus on purpose, and their understanding of human psychology. Because at the end of the day, the richest person in the room isn't the one with the most money. It's the one who needs the least to be happy and has the most to give to others. My name is Dhirain, and if this dive into the hidden world of money psychology sparked a new perspective for you, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the way we think, live, and build wealth. The most valuable investment you can ever make isn't in a stock or a property, it's in understanding your own mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.